My name is Sarah Chen. I caught my husband cheating, but here's what he didn't know. I was already planning to leave, not because of her, but because of me. This is not just a story about betrayal. This is the moment I took my power back. It was a Thursday night in Chicago. Rain was hitting our apartment windows like angry fingers. I was sitting in our living room, waiting for Andrew to come home from another client dinner. But this time he forgot something important. His phone. It was buzzing on the coffee table. Message after message. I tried to ignore it, but the screen kept lighting up. Finally I looked. Can't wait to see you tonight, gorgeous. Room 412 is ready. From someone named Jessica. My heart should have broken. My world should have crashed. But instead I smiled, because 3 months ago I had done something Andrew would never expect. I had rented a secret apartment across town, not because I suspected him. I was leaving because every day I became smaller in my own marriage. I cooked his favorite meals while forgetting what I liked to eat. I wore colors he preferred while my own style disappeared. I laughed at his unfunny jokes and stopped telling my own stories. I was disappearing, and Andrew didn't even notice. But him cheating? That was the permission I needed to save myself. I heard his key in the door. 20 minutes later than Jessica's message said he would be free. He walked in, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. Sorry, babe, he said, not meeting my eyes. Client dinner ran really late. You know how it is. I nodded calmly. How was Jessica? He stopped breathing. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, but no words came out. What? He finally whispered. I held up his phone. The screen was still glowing with her messages. Room 412. Tonight. She seems nice. Should I call and tell her you're home? He started stuttering excuses. Lies poured out like water from a broken dam. I wasn't listening. Instead, I was remembering something. Someone from 7 years ago. Daniel Martinez. Daniel had been my best friend in college. While other guys tried to impress me with fancy dates and expensive gifts, Daniel brought me coffee during late study sessions and actually listened when I talked about my dreams of becoming a writer. He loved me quietly, the way he remembered I liked extra foam in my latte, the way he saved interesting articles he thought I'd enjoy, the way he looked at me like I was the most fascinating person in any room. But I was 22 and stupid. I chose Andrew's loud confidence over Daniel's gentle strength. I chose excitement over stability. I chose the promise of adventure over the certainty of being truly seen. The night before I moved to Chicago with Andrew, Daniel and I sat on the campus steps where we had spent so many evenings talking about everything and nothing. You deserve someone who sees all of you, he said quietly. I laughed, trying to lighten the mood. You're too serious, Danny. Life should be fun. He looked at me with those dark eyes that had always seen through my pretenses. And you're afraid of being loved the right way. Those words haunted me for 7 years, because deep down I knew he was right. The next morning, while Andrew cried and begged and promised he would change, I packed one small bag. I didn't take much, just some clothes, my laptop, and something I had kept hidden in my jewelry box for 7 years. Daniel's email address, written on a piece of paper he had given me that last night. If you ever need a friend, he had said, I'll be here. I drove to my secret apartment. 1 bedroom, big windows, and blessed silence. For the first time in 3 years of marriage, I could breathe without asking permission. That evening I sat at my laptop. My hands shook as I opened a new email and typed the address I had memorized, but never used. Danny, it's Sarah. I think you were right about everything. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before hitting send. His reply came faster than I expected. What happened? My fingers moved across the keyboard. I forgot how to be myself. I forgot what I liked, what I wanted, what I dreamed about. I became a stranger to myself. Can we talk? I've been waiting 7 years for this message. Where are you? We agreed to meet the next day at Lincoln Park, where we used to walk during college when the weight of finals felt too heavy. I wore jeans and a sweater I'd forgotten I owned, colors I actually liked instead of the muted tones Andrew preferred. Daniel was already there, sitting on our old bench by the lake. 7 years had changed him. His hair was shorter, more professional. He had lines around his eyes that spoke of laughter and maybe some sadness. But when he looked up and saw me, that same gentle smile spread across his face. Sarah. He stood up, and for a moment we just looked at each other. You came, I whispered. Of course I came. I told you I'd be here. We walked along the lake path like we used to. At first, neither of us spoke. Then the words started flowing. I told him about Andrew, about the cheating, about the years of feeling invisible in my own life. But more than that, I told him about the secret apartment, about rediscovering books I used to love, about remembering that I once had opinions and dreams and a voice. You look tired, Daniel said after I finished. I feel lost. I admitted. He stopped walking and turned to face me. No, you look like someone who just remembered she had wings. We sat on a bench as the sun set over the lake. Why didn't you fight for me 7 years ago? I asked. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Because real love doesn't fight to keep someone. It waits for them to choose to stay, and you weren't ready to choose yourself yet. And now? Now you're asking the right questions. We started meeting regularly. Not dates, not yet. Just 2 old friends helping each other remember who they used to be. Daniel introduced me to new authors. I showed him poems I had started writing in my secret apartment. We talked about books, dreams, the way coffee tastes different when you're not drinking it to please someone else. 3 weeks after I left Andrew, he found my apartment. I don't know how. Maybe he hired someone. Maybe he followed me. It was a Saturday morning. I was reading on my couch when angry pounding shook my door. Sarah, I know you're in there. Open the door. I looked through the peephole. Andrew stood there, unshaven, eyes red with rage and alcohol. I opened the door but kept the chain lock attached. What do you want, Andrew? I want my wife back, he was shouting. People in the hallway were staring. Who is he? I know there's someone else. You couldn't have left me for nothing. I looked at this man who had made me feel small for 3 years. This man who had cheated on me and then had the audacity to be angry that I left. There is someone else, I said calmly. His face twisted with fury. I knew it. Who is he? Tell me his name. I smiled for the first time in the conversation. Me. I found myself again. The confusion in his eyes was almost comical. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the woman who used to write poetry. The woman who loved spicy food even though you said it was too hot. The woman who wanted to travel to places you called boring. I found her again, Andrew, and she's never going back to being your shadow. He stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Then his face hardened. You'll regret this. You'll never find anyone who loves you like I do. You're absolutely right, I said. I'll never find anyone who loves me the way you do. Thank God for that. I closed the door. He pounded for another 5 minutes, then left. That was the last time I saw Andrew. 6 months later, my life looks completely different. Daniel and I did something crazy. We opened the bookstore cafe we used to dream about in college. It's small, cozy, filled with the smell of coffee and the sound of pages turning. We call it Between the Lines. Daniel handles the business side while I curate the books and write. My poems are displayed on the walls. Customers actually read them and tell me how they made them feel. Daniel doesn't try to save me or complete me. He simply celebrates who I am. When I dance while making coffee, he doesn't tell me to stop. He joins in. When I get excited about a new book, he doesn't roll his eyes. He asks me to tell him about it. Love looks different now. It's not desperate or demanding. It doesn't require me to shrink or apologize for taking up space. It's gentle, supportive, and it grows bigger when I become more myself. Last night, Daniel was reading at the counter while I wrote in my journal. I looked up and said, "I'm happy." He smiled without looking up from his book. "I know. How do you know? You laugh differently now." "How?" "Like you're not asking permission." This morning my phone rang. Andrew's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Sarah?" His voice was broken, smaller than I remembered. "I miss you. I made a terrible mistake. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just come home." I felt nothing, no anger, no pain, no temptation, just a quiet certainty. "Andrew," I said gently, "I hope you find someone who makes you want to be a better person. But that someone isn't me anymore. But I love you," he whispered. "I know you do, in your way." But love isn't just about wanting someone. It's about seeing them, celebrating them, giving them room to grow. You loved the version of me that made you comfortable. I love the version of me that's real. I hung up and went back to my writing. Daniel brought me coffee without being asked. The afternoon sun streamed through our big windows. A customer was reading one of my favorite books in the corner. Everything felt right. I am not the woman who accepted crumbs and called it love. I am not the woman who made herself small to fit into someone else's life. I laugh loudly at things I find funny. I eat spicy food and travel to places that feed my soul. I choose myself every single day, and I'm never going back. You see, sometimes the stranger in your bed isn't the person lying next to you having an affair. Sometimes it's you, the woman you became to please someone who never deserved your light in the first place. But here's the beautiful thing about strangers. They can find their way home, and when they do, they realized they were never really lost. They were just sleeping. So wake up. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Choose yourself. Fight for yourself. Love yourself first. The world is waiting to meet who you really are. And trust me, she's incredible.